What is up, Steeler fans? It is Monday, and it is time. I guess we haven't done a Monday morning conversation in a while. This is kind of a Monday morning conversation, but we're doing the final 53-man roster prediction. And when we do that, you know who my guest is, Dave Schofield. What's up, Dave?
Yeah, I don't know if you can call me a Monday morning conversation or not. Maybe a Monday morning annoyance, something like that. That would be a little bit better.
Nonetheless, we appreciate you coming on, and we have... I got to make sure we all are on the same page here. That's you, the listener, viewer, and everyone that's the part of this. We are actually recording this right after the Steelers made their first wave of cuts. If they made a second wave of cuts, you might hear some talk about a player who isn't on the roster anymore. But this is obviously Monday. Tomorrow, Tuesday, is when the Steelers have to have their 53-man roster finalized. They'll have to make announcements for if players go to injured reserve. And then, Dave, what is it? Is it the next day? Is it Wednesday for practice squad? How does that work? I'm trying to remember.
All right, so I'm ready for this one. All right, 4 p.m. Tuesday is the cut down day for everyone. The time for waiver claims doesn't go a full 24 hours. It's only 20. It's noon on Wednesday. Then the NFL gets out the list of any waiver claims as close as they can to noon, and that's when teams can start signing their practice squad players at that time. Even if someone is released now, like the Steelers did, they are technically on waivers all the way through that time because they were released after the last preseason game all the way up until then.
Yeah. And so remember, this is a cumulative thing. We've been doing this since when did we start? Was it minicamp? We did a post minicamp 53-man prediction, I think, or something like that.
After the draft, something like that.
Yeah, so we've been doing this a lot, and it has changed a lot when you think about the trades that have happened, acquisitions that have happened, and so even players that were cut, it always is evolving. And so this is our final 53-man prediction. You can see this article on SteelCurtainNetwork.com. Today, Monday, early in the morning, probably around 9 a.m. Eastern time is when we'll run this article. So if you want to see it and not just hear it, check it out there. But let's take a look at this. Let's start off with the offense and quarterbacks. We both predicted the same thing. Not only the same three players, but we also predicted a roster move as well. And that was Mason Rudolph, Aaron Rodgers, Skylar Thompson in no particular order. And we both have Will Howard going to injured reserve. Dave, I don't think there's any way that Will Howard, without playing a snap in the preseason, jumps over Skylar Thompson and gets a roster spot.
Yeah, but I also don't see any way that he gets cut either.
I don't think he gets cut. You don't cut him. There's no reason to cut him if you can get him on IR, and he's hurt. So I think that's an easy move to make.
Yeah, and honestly, I will say this. I would not be shocked if Skylar Thompson ends up being someone who is potentially traded by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They could trade him here before week one. Honestly, they would even have the first several weeks of the season because if they move Will Howard in that designated to return idea of IR, they could put him straight to IR where they cut down without being one of those designated return. That means he's done. That means he's still with them, but he's done. But if he's designated return, you would have that 4-week window. Let's say someone has a big injury or something at quarterback, or somebody is a complete disappointment and they're kind of scrambling and they would need someone else to be a backup. The Steelers did that in 2019 with Josh Dobbs, only to turn around and have their own injury the next week. So sometimes you want to be careful with that. But I wouldn't be shocked if that ends up happening to then have a Will Howard then be ready to go with the third spot with the roster at that time. Or it could be that they could say, hey, this finger's going to be a long time. We might not ever bring him back from IR the rest of the season.
And Skylar Thompson's stock is never going to be higher right now. He had a phenomenal preseason. He looked good, in control. This is a guy, as Mike Tomlin said after the game on Thursday night, that he's had experience starting in the National Football League, even in a playoff game for the Miami Dolphins. So they might be shopping Skylar Thompson if they think Will Howard will be fine and be ready to go for QB3 duties in week one. Then maybe they do that, and maybe they say, hey, there's a team out there that needs a better backup or whatever. Who knows? But as of right now, we're both taking Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson as our three quarterbacks, with Will Howard being put on injured reserve and designated to return. So let's go to running backs now. We both have the same three: Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, and Caleb Johnson. Now, I got to be honest, there are players that I think could make the team that would technically fall under this umbrella, But as of right now, I think these are the three that are going to carry the load. Dave, do you have anything to suggest otherwise?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Both Trey Sermon and Lou Nichols, they made the most of their opportunities in the preseason. I will just say that. They made good cases. If the Steelers choose that they want to keep more running backs, either one of those two guys would be a good choice. I'm still not mentioning the other name that's out there because we'll wait until you want to bring him up at another spot.
Right.
That I would not be shocked if either one of those two ended up on the 53-man roster. I would be even more shocked if they didn't end up on the Steelers practice squad unless they get picked up by somebody else.
I think it's pretty safe, in my opinion, that either Sermon or Nichols will be on the practice squad, if not both. I don't know if they'll carry two running backs. I don't know if you need two running backs, but at the same time, I think they're going to keep one of those guys if, again, they don't get poached up from someone else.
Yeah, and they've kept at least two running backs since it's expanded to 16 pretty much most of the time, because if not, that's what these new practice squad rules bring. I say new because they are still kind of fresh, that you can bring up two players each week. But the good thing about that is you don't have to keep a fourth running back that's constantly inactive on your roster. You could keep them on the practice squad and would still have someone to bring up to be available to have three every game.
And I think both Sermon or Nichols could be a contributing member if they were called upon. We saw that in the preseason. Yes. Nichols and Sermon. I mean, Sermon has NFL experience. So does Nichols in a couple different spots. I like those two. I don't think they make the 53, but I think the Steelers try to get one, if not both, onto the practice squad. Now,
both of them bring special teams value.
True. Now, this is where things get dicey, and that is we go to fullback. Now, you have 0, I have 1. And now this guy that I have making the team is kind of a flyer, let's be honest. It's Max Hurlman. And I just think that Max Hurlman provides a lot of value to this Steelers team. He plays special teams. He does a lot of different things on the offensive side of the ball. And if you watch the game, even Thursday night, he lined up in the backfield and then he motioned out into the flat. He was, and we said this before we hit record, he's almost more like a tight end, but he's also labeled as a running back because that's what he played at Notre Dame. I like Max Hurlman, and I think the Steelers do covet a player like him. The question is, okay, if he's going to make the team, I don't think he gets a helmet every week, I'll be honest. But I think they do value his skill set. Would I be shocked if he gets cut? No. But I have Max Hurlman on the 53. Dave, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't. But if I did, I wouldn't put him as a fullback. I could find a way to keep a fifth tight end. The Steelers did last year to start the season, and that's what I would call him because I think he lined up there more. I don't know. I'm going to have to go look at his alignments. That's one good thing PFF is really good for, is keeping track of those kind of things during the preseason.
Right.
That I'll have to go in and check and see where all he lined up. But think about this. Last year, that fifth spot, and they even got a helmet because they played special teams, was Rodney Williams. You can look at Hurlman and the different things that he can do. And you know how they love versatile guys that can wear a bunch of hats. I was really close to putting him on, and I didn't for a reason that I'll explain when we get there, where I did decide to keep an extra player somewhere else. But I could really easily be convinced that, hey, this is a guy that people wouldn't expect to make the roster, and he's going to be the one that squeezes on. Wouldn't shock me one bit. I also wouldn't, he's a slam dunk for the practice squad if he can get there.
Yeah. And I watched, and go back and mentally think about the preseason. Week 1, it was early in the game. I wanted to say it was the first half when Hurlman catches a touchdown, does the backflip afterwards. It was all, wow, look at that. He was out there with those second string guys, like those second and third string guys. Go to week 2. Sure, he lets the opportunity go through his fingers, but he was out there with Mason Rudolph throwing passes. And so that, and again, this is where I take how they use these players, and I kind of think, all right, where are they putting them in terms of, he's not playing in the fourth quarter with the scrubs. No offense to those players. They're in the NFL for a reason, but still, he's not playing with the guys that are going to be unemployed as of Tuesday. He's playing with the guys that they think are going to be at least backups on this team. And so that always stuck out with me. I think, like you said, Hurlman, you could put him with the running backs. You could put him like I did with the fullback. You could put him with the tight ends. It's a roster spot either way, but I've got him in there. And that means that there's gonna be some tough decisions for me keeping him. Who do I cut? We'll get to that in a little bit. Let's go to the next category, which is wide receiver. We both have 5. Now, I'll be first to say we have the same 5.
Hard. Yeah.
I can see them keeping 6. I absolutely could. But for
sure.
5, we both have DK Metcalf, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin III, Ben Skoranek, and, of course, Mr. Preseason himself, Scotty Miller. Robert Woods is the man out here for me. I could see them keeping 6, and I could see them keeping Robert Woods, even though he did very little this preseason.
Yeah, I don't know if he did so little this preseason because he's an older guy that they didn't need to see much of him. But my goodness, he was out there in the second half in week 2. So It's like, okay, is this indicative of what they think of him?
It's the antithesis of Hurlman. That's the polar opposite.
Yes. Or they're like, well, we want to give him some play, but we need to evaluate these other guys a little bit more. So we're just going to put him out there when we need him later on. Yeah. I really don't know what they're thinking about him. And the thing, so he's really tough to think about. But the other one is, are Calvin Austin and Ben Skoranek ready to go?
Yeah.
So there's some, really, the only ones that I feel comfortable about are DK Metcalf, Roman Wilson, and Scotty Miller. That's it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about the health of Austin and Skoranek. I don't know really how the Steelers view Woods. Who's the one that got hurt in the game with the foot injury?
Brandon Johnson. Yes, Brandon
He was
Johnson.
getting a lot of play early on. That's Lance McCutcheon. I'm pretty sure he was one that was on the practice squad last year.
I think you're right. He caught a touchdown Thursday night.
Yes, he did. So that's another one to think about. And I put Scotty Miller here, but I said this on the postgame show, and I'm going to stand by it. Scotty Miller has a veteran salary benefit contract. He's the prime candidate for if the Steelers use up their 2 designated to return from IR spots and want somebody else that they want to have designated to return, which means they have to be on the 53-man roster until the next day. Scotty Miller, to me, would be the candidate to say, hey, we're going to cut you, but we want to bring you right back. The only thing that would be a problem there is somebody else could say, oh, Scotty Miller, yeah, the Steelers might want you back, but are they willing to pay you this much? Yeah, because of what he did in the preseason. It's a possibility. I'm just saying that, you kind of took that mentality away when they added those 2 spots. But my goodness, I can look at 5 or 6 different players right now that the Steelers could try to get on IR designated to return. They're obviously not going to do it with all of them, but there's a lot of possibilities there.
That's a good point, but I also want to say this to all the people out there that have been clamoring for another wide receiver. And I'm not saying that the Steelers might not add a wide receiver in some capacity. But if they're going to carry that many tight ends, they're going to use them in a variety of ways. So if you're thinking they're only going to have 5 wide receivers, well, yeah, but they might have 4 or 5 tight ends, and a lot of them, Jonnu Smith, are more than capable of playing a more wide receiver role in the offense. And so they are going to look for mismatches in any way possible, and that might be with more tight end usage than it is with wide receivers. I'll go back to what Arthur Smith's offense looked like in Tennessee. He had a big-time receiver, A.J. Brown. Who's that for the Steelers? DK Metcalf. He had a good, solid running game with Derrick Henry. We hope it's by committee in Pittsburgh, but still, you know who they have there. And then he used a very flexible tight end. Oh, it was Jonnu Smith in Tennessee, who was actually doing a lot of damage in a lot of different ways and being a mismatch nightmare. That's what he wants to do. So I'm going to go with 5 for now. Dave, you have the same exact 5. You bring up a great point about Scotty Miller and his contract. So then let's shift into tight ends. We both have 4 tight ends, the same tight ends: Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, Connor Hayward, and Jonnu Smith. I'll say this: people that want to say Connor Hayward should get cut, the dude plays a ton of special teams. And when I heard Aaron Rodgers start to say all those positive things about Connor Hayward, I was like, locked to make the team. And so for me, this was a no-brainer. What about you?
Yeah, honestly, I think the people that say that about Connor Hayward, and there's a group of people out there that honestly believe this. They think the only reason he has a roster spot is because of his big brother.
Yeah, you're right.
No, that's that. No, that's
I
not
don't agree with it. I don't agree
with
it, but there are people out there, is what I'm saying.
But they honestly think that, and that's what, like, oh, you want negotiating power with Cam Hayward? Cut his brother. No, that's no.
Yeah.
No. We'll just say no.
So in my case, think back to me keeping Max Hurlman. Max Hurlman could have been in this hodgepodge of places to take up a roster spot. He is definitely the one player that could be filled a lot of different areas for the Steelers.
Yeah. And see, I thought, well, maybe I'll go 5 tight ends and put Hurlman there. And that would not shock me. 5 wide receivers, 5 tight ends. That fits into the numbers that the Steelers typically do. But I'll be honest with you. If the Steelers add a wide receiver, I don't know that it's going to be at the expense of one of the guys we have listed unless they go on IR.
Hey, if they add a wide receiver, to me, it's simple. On my 53, you cut Hurlman and you add the receiver and you have 6.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works. So that's pretty simple math for me. Let's go to all right. So offensive line, I did some dancing here. I kept 9. You kept 9. Now you had Calvin Anderson going to IR. I did as well. I think that he's clearly banged up to the point where they haven't played him at all. So I have Dylan Cook in, Calvin Anderson out. You just have Calvin Anderson out to IR, and that's it.
Yeah, because I had 10 last time.
Correct.
Not the last time we did a podcast, the last time we did the article.
Right. I also had Max Sharping in my group, but that was because he was filling in as the backup center without Ryan McCullum, but Ryan McCullum's back. So I have Max Sharping out, and I put Andres Pete in because I do like his versatility, being able to play tackle and guard. So we both have 9. It's a little bit, I guess it is a little bit different. Maybe it's the same. It's the same.
When you look at it, because we don't have them listed in the same order, I think all of our thing going on here that it's
right. So it's Broderick Jones, Troy Fautanu, Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick. There's your starters. Depth: Spencer Anderson, Dylan Cook, Ryan McCullum, and Andres Pete. We have the same. So that wraps. Go ahead. What do you want to say about that?
One that I'm saying that I'm not 100% sure on. I was early in the season, but he was out so long hurt, and man, my goodness, couldn't keep from getting flags thrown in his face all night. Is I don't know that Ryan McCullum is necessarily safe.
Okay.
I'm still not saying I think that he could be out. I was really, when it came to him, I'm like, if he's out, then I think it's got to be Sharping that's in.
Yeah, someone's got to play the backup center spot. I
mean, it's not that Spencer Anderson couldn't. They just haven't had him do it at all because he's been playing guard in place of Isaac Seumalo the whole time.
That's exactly right. So, all right, so we have the same 9, and that wraps up the offense. Dave, you have 24 players on offense. I have the stock answer of 25. Let's go to the defensive side. Defensive line, Dave, you have 7. I have 6. We have the same 6 in terms of, I believe so. Yes, Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, Derek Harmon, Logan Lee, Isaiah Loudermilk, and Wyatt Black. But you also have Daniel Ikuale. Go ahead and explain yourself.
Yes.
Whatever.
I've had him the whole time.
You have.
I've never wavered in taking him out of there. I thought he looked pretty good in the last preseason game, surprisingly. I just felt like he's who they've been having. He's been playing nose tackle a lot. And I thought that he's been kind of taking on bodies in order to free up the linebackers some at times. So I was pretty happy with him. And like I said, sometimes you got to look at the salary. I think he's someone that would be more difficult for them to cut because he's got experience. I'm not even sure how many years he's got in for sure. I know he's got more than 4 years experience.
Yeah.
I added Isaiah Loudermilk, although I don't want to. I just know that the Steelers, I mean, my goodness, they even start the guy whenever Cam Hayward's out and things of that nature. And I'm kind of tired of it. And he's been playing special teams and playing them well in the preseason. So of course he's the new Daniel McCullers for me. So I'm probably going to keep him in there just because I think the Steelers will keep him. But I decided to go with 7 because at the time we're recording, we still don't have any definite, and I don't know when there'll be a definite answer if there's going to be any time missed with Derek Harmon with his knee sprain from the last preseason game.
Yeah, and I don't think it would be anything that would involve an IR stint. It's just a gut thing for me, but still it could be. Logan Lee is the tough one for me because he hasn't played like awful. I know we talked about this before we recorded as well, that his PFF grades have not been good, but he's also the backup long snapper. We know that now from the preseason. That provides value. And so the Steelers are going to have some tough decisions there on the defensive line. You have 7. I have 6. What else do you want to say about that before we move on?
I want to say something about Logan Lee, believe it or not. Okay. First of all, especially looking at that last preseason game, but even throughout all the preseason, I keep asking myself, how in the world did Y.A. Black end up being a 5th-round pick? Because that dude is out there beasting it up.
Yeah.
And maybe it's that they say he's not necessarily this mean, rip your head off kind of guy. Maybe thought that he suffered kind of like from, to bring up the name again, Daniel McCullers, that was just a big guy, but didn't necessarily have that mean streak of getting. I loved the sack celebration. That was phenomenal. But part of the thing that he says that he's felt so comfortable and who's really brought his game around in college and is still now there is Logan Lee. I think Logan Lee, even if it's even just to help baby along Y.A. Black the way that he's been, if he keeps playing the preseason, I kept saying that Black was probably going to be a guy they keep around, but you're not going to give him a helmet on game day. My goodness, right now, you've got to give that dude a helmet. I don't know if he even fits the criteria for the Kiesel World Award that we do there. He's the guy that I'm just like enamored with what he's done this preseason and this training camp. So that's why I throw Logan Lee in there. If Logan Lee doesn't make it, I hope I would assume he'd be on the practice squad unless something else happens. But I think he'd be good for Y.A. Black.
Well, and that's, if you go back to this past summer when I had the Iowa Hawkeyes from the Hawkeye Report, that reporter on, he talked about how Logan Lee, Y.A. Black, they have a phenomenal relationship, and that's on field and off field. And he talked about how those two guys work well together. Okay, let's keep the band together as long as they're playing good football. Yeah. And I still remember times, this is not the same position group, but when in 2019, Stephon Tuitt and T.J. Watt played so well together on that side of the defense in terms of the stunts and knowing exactly what the other one was going to do. They created so much for each other. If that's what it is with these two guys, lock it up. Let's do it. Let's have these guys go out there and play good football. So we'll see how that. I think the defensive line is a fascinating position group to watch during these cutdowns. So again, Dave has 7, I have 6. We go to maybe the most boring position to talk about, and that's outside linebacker. There's 4, T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Jack Sawyer. Unless Herbig's hamstring or Highsmith's groin is more serious than we think. Yep. Dave, there's nothing changing here, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. There's so many of these that you worry about the injury and everything. Because, DeMarvin Leal seems to be the next guy up because I'm pretty sure Leal started all 3 preseason games.
Probably.
What I think is very interesting there is he could start all 3 preseason games and not even make the roster. Yeah. Which is interesting. But it's a position change for him. I don't know how high the Steelers are on him because he's playing out there and not on the defensive line. I don't know if he could also add depth on the defensive line, but they were using him at outside linebacker because they weren't playing those guys in the preseason. There's so much about him that I don't know. But I'm not seeing him as I think if it's a spot that hangs around really with special teams, I don't see him as being more valuable than a special teams guy that you could get somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I think that Leal is just, he's the perfect tweener. He's that guy that you just don't know what position should he be playing. Outside linebacker, defensive front. I don't think he has a spot. I don't think he has a spot on this team, and that's why I don't have him on there. So
and we got to mention that the other one is Leota, I guess his name.
Yeah,
Leota.
Yep.
He played very well in the preseason, but I think that's a guy that would be really good for the practice squad.
I agree 100%. Now, I think this next position group is very deep, and it's very difficult to predict who exactly is going to make it and who isn't. It really comes down to 2 players. This is inside linebacker. Patrick Queen, Malik Harrison, who was a free agent acquisition, Cole Holcomb, who looks like he's back to health, Peyton Wilson. Those are your 4. They're locks, in my opinion. And so it comes
and none of them are dealing with injury. It's the one position they're not.
Fantastic. It's awesome. And so it comes down to, you want Carson Bruner, Mark Robinson. Do they find somehow to keep 6? I don't think they do. You had Mark Robinson out this past time. I had him out already. I went with Carson Bruner. What's your thought process there?
I was going back and forth between these guys the whole time. And Mark Robinson was making plays. He makes great plays on special teams. But, man, Carson Bruner, he's also making great plays on special teams. Mark Robinson and Carson Bruner could be in 2025 what Mark Robinson and Tyler Matakevich were in 2024. The problem is there's 4 other linebackers in front of them.
Right.
I don't know that I'm trying to think last year if there was that many. I don't think there was.
No.
So I would not be shocked if the Steelers found a way. And seriously, they could keep one less cornerback. That wouldn't shock me if they did that and kept the extra inside linebacker. But the problem is I'll even have a cornerback there that's just a special teams guy. You could maybe find it, squeeze it out somewhere else, and maybe this is the spot where both of them make it. I'm just not – 6 inside linebackers seems like a lot. That's why I'm not willing to go there yet. But I would not be shocked one bit if they go with it.
To me, this is a simple question. This is a simple answer here. First, Mark Robinson was not a Omar Khan draft pick. That's the first cut against him. Not his fault, but still not. He wasn't. He was a Kevin Colbert draft pick. Second, is he a liability in the defense? And most would say yes. I mean, they've thrown at him every time he gets defensive snaps. Is Carson Bruner a notch above him in that regard? If the answer is yes, and he provides the same amount of special teams, easy answer. Rookie, guy that wasn't drafted by the current GM, and so you say goodbye. So we'll see. I don't think they keep 6. That's just too much for me. But let's go to a position where I do think they keep 6, and that is cornerback. Now, you have Joey Porter, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Brandon Eccles, Beanie Bishop, and James Pierre. And I'll let you explain the Corey Trice thing. I went with Joey Porter, Darius Slay, Brandon Eccles. I took Beanie Bishop out. Jalen Ramsey, James Pierre, and Corey Trice came back into my cornerback room, and the reason why is that Corey Trice has been working his way back into practice. He and Calvin Austin III have been working on the side. They're getting their legs underneath him again. So, Dave, go ahead and explain you and Trice and what you think there at the position.
I think as much as I've liked Corey Trice, he's in 2 seasons, he's played 6 games.
Right.
He's not available, and he didn't play a single snap in the preseason. It becomes a time when it's like, we can't rely on this guy. I'm to a point that I'm looking at him as either more of a flat up cut or an RI guy more than I would even consider putting him on the 53.
Yeah.
I think that's a waste of spot on the 53 because here's the big thing with him. He doesn't play special teams. Do you want to know why he doesn't play special teams? Because through the preseason, he's always been hurt and hasn't had a chance to show that he can even play special teams. So therefore, he's not been a special teams guy. That's why, unfortunately, from a cornerback standpoint, I could see James Pierre making the team, although I don't want to see him out there as a cornerback. But he just brings so much on special teams that you don't get from Corey Trice. Just look at last year, the last regular season game. Corey Trice started. He started, and he had the Jamar Chase matchup.
Yeah.
In the last week of the season, and then who was it? Was it Deshaun Jackson who was hurt and then came back, or it was somebody else who was hurt, came back. And Trice went from starting to inactive in the playoffs because they needed James Pierre instead because of the special teams. That's how much of a fine line he was. He went from starter to inactive, but just because of that's all he brings. And that's the problem when you look at this list and you're like, that's all he brings. For example, Beanie Bishop. I should let you talk about Beanie Bishop.
Yeah, because I don't have him making the squad because I don't think he provides enough value to keep him. I look at Corey Trice, and if he's healthy, he is a step above James Pierre, I think a significant step above James Pierre as a defensive back. I want James Pierre on the roster. I want him on special teams. He's a very good special teams player. But Brandon Eccles, who I've been high on for a long time this offseason, if Brandon Eccles can fill in where Beanie Bishop, whatever he was doing in the limited capacity with Jalen Ramsey being added, I think they'll be fine. And I know there's a lot of people on our network that like Beanie Bishop a lot, and they think he deserves a spot. I get it. But I think when Brandon Eccles, he played great this preseason. Beanie Bishop, did he even play on Thursday night?
He did not.
That's interesting to me.
And I'm so curious about that. And I even put this as part of our article. I'm like, why didn't he play? Yeah. What's going on there? Because especially after, was it Terrell Austin that had talked about this being a big game for Beanie Bishop?
Yeah.
When he spoke before, and then he doesn't play. I'm like, are they trying to hide him and so they could get him on the practice squad? Are they shopping him? Because to me, I look at it this way. I would have Brandon Echols my next one up in the slot.
Right. Exactly.
That puts Beanie Bishop as your third option in the slot, and he only plays the slot. That's his problem.
And Echols can play both. Echols can play inside and out.
Yeah. That's why I almost kept him off this list, but I'm not putting Corey Trice in there because the dude just hasn't played. That's why I actually thought for a second they could go with 5 cornerbacks and keep an extra inside linebacker if they wanted to, and go with Porter, Slay, Ramsey. They're going to be on the field all the time. It's going to be rare for someone else to get playing time, and if it is, it's going to be Brandon Echols. James Pierre's your emergency guy that plays special teams, and then that's all you got.
See, that was my thought process in terms of I don't think Corey Trice would get a helmet. If everyone's healthy, he would be the one that they're like, all right, you're inactive this week. But if we have an injury to one of those guys, okay, we're going to activate you in the next game, and you're going to be called in to play defensive back, and you don't have to have James Pierre out there. So it's going to be an interesting position in group as well. All right, let's go to safety. We both have the same 4: Deshaun Elliott, Juan Thornhill, Miles Killebrew, Chuck Clark. A lot of people might say, what about Sebastian Castro? Unfortunately, I think he is a practice squad guy. He didn't show enough splash, in my opinion, in any capacity to make the 53-man roster. Anything you want to add to that, Dave?
Yeah, because this brings up something, because I was going to say it about Beanie Bishop. Now I can say it about Sebastian Castro, but this is really more about the Beanie Bishops and Corey Trices of the world. Sometimes Steelers fans love the late round pick and the undrafted guy. The Steelers need to hit on these kind of guys in order for them to really have a great roster. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that statement. Hitting on those positions, like the Brett Kiesels, like the Ramon Fosters, like the Mike Hiltons, like the James Harrisons, those kind of guys, like even the Kelvin Beachum before he went off and helped them get a 3rd round comp pick. But those players are great in that regard. But what's more dangerous is holding on to them when they're just okay, thinking maybe they can get to be great. And sometimes you just have to let them go. That might be Mark Robinson this year. Yeah. That might be Beanie Bishop. That might be Corey Trice. That's those kinds of players. Yes, it's great, and you keep them for cheap, and you keep them around as long as you can, but you shouldn't hold on to them too much, thinking about what they could be and how great it would be to hit there otherwise. That's why I think Sebastian Castro could still be a big hit for the Steelers, but it would have to be coming from the practice squad.
All right, so that means that you have 26 on defense. I have 25. It both comes out to 50, which means we're left with specialists. It was interesting, before we go, Chris Boswell's on both of our lists. We both went with Cameron Johnston, but before we do, I want to say Christian Kuntz will have him on there. When the Steelers went through their first round of cuts, they actually cut the long snapper they signed, so they clearly believe that Kuntz will be ready for week 1. And unless they're going to sign someone else, which seems kind of odd timing to do that, Christian Kuntz is on the list. But you have Cameron Johnston, so do I. I'll let you say why you chose him over Corliss Waitman.
I was really close and ready to flip, and then they each only got 1 punt on Thursday, and neither of them were all that long. But the one thing that I noticed is that, Cam Johnston, what he's been doing, he's been out there a lot when he hasn't had the whole field to punt.
Yeah.
And he's been needing to pin them. Like yes, there was a bit of a return, but he put that ball to the 10-yard line. Yeah, it was a 37-yard punt, something like that. But he put it down the 10-yard line. Now, there was a bit of a return because guys didn't tackle. But Corliss Waitman had more room, and he only had like a 35-yard punt that went out that ended up at like the 30. So, yes, it would kind of stink that it's just one punt knocking him down. But to me, I thought that he had to have every punt be better in order for him to get that job, and that was the one that I saw that wasn't. So the only way I think the Steelers go the other way is if somebody wants to trade with them, and who they want is Johnston.
Yeah.
Because it would be nice to be able to trade one of them and keep one of them. And I do want to say one thing real quick about Christian Kuntz is the fact that they cut that long snapper when the Steelers still had 4 more practices to go until the deadline to cut down must tell you that Christian Kuntz is probably okay to snap in practice. I just don't know that he'd go out there with live action right now.
Right.
Is probably where they're sitting with him. Or they feel like, hey, Logan Lee, just fill in for a little bit.
Exactly.
If that was really about keeping that guy, they would have kept him through those practices to get through that.
Which is good news. Everyone should be happy with that because when you have the battery, which is your long snapper holder, long snapper kicker, and for the punter, you want everything to be very uniform and usual. And I know that Cameron Johnson's punt, it was a high snap. And you heard the announcers even on Thursday night say, that was a little bit of a high snap. And I was like, yep, backup long snapper. Here we go. So there you have it. Our roster predictions. We both come down to 53 players. I feel very, very, very solid in my thinking that I am not going to be close. So I'm never close. I'm honestly not. Like, there's always players that
give me a number, Jeff. Give me a number.
How many?
How many from where you picked do you think are going to be incorrect and it'll be someone else?
I'll go with 4.
That's what I was going to go with as well.
4 wrong picks. If I got 3, I'd be ecstatic. If it was just 3, I'd be like, oh, what a great year for Jeff.
I feel the exact same.
All right, Dave, I want to give you a chance to plug your Pittsburgh Standard Time podcast in case no one's checked that out on Thursday morning, and anything that you have coming up on the written side that you want to give people some. Oh, we could talk about the giveaway too.
Yes, because one thing some business I wanted to take care of with Jeff was when exactly am I opening that up for our wonderful contest that we do each year? If we open it up too early, then people go in, they're like, oh, I want to wait till the preseason's done to make my pick, and then they forget to go back and do it. So we like to do it. Yes, it means that it's not as much time to sign up. You're going to have almost 2 weeks to do it. But we want to get that out there for our Survivor contest. For you're not sure, all you got to do is pick one game each week. That no spread, nothing. If you pick it right, you move on. If you're wrong, you're out.
But you can't pick that team again.
Can't pick that team again. That's the other thing I was going to say. So if you pick the Steelers in week 1, then you can't pick them again in week 2. You've got to be the last one standing. We've had some that have gone very long, and we've had some of these that haven't. But the big thing is we have our prize. We have a nice prize. This is free for everyone to do. There'll be more information for it at steelcurtainetwork.com. But our prize is a signed Steelers mini helmet by Hall of Famer Alan Faneca.
Nice. Is it just a standard black mini helmet?
Yes.
All right. Good stuff. We'll have an article out probably this week. For more information, go to steelcurtainetwork.com. It'll have all the links for everything. And then remember, if we fill up one of those leagues, which in the past we have, we'll create another one. And then if we fill that one up, what was the most we've ever had? Did we used to have it behind the steel curtain? Did we have 4?
Oh, we had 5.
Oh my gosh!
Back then,
we haven't had that many at Steel Curtain Network. We've had 2 though.
So tell your friends, get more people involved. Well, do you know why people don't tell their friends? They want a better chance of winning. That's why.
Good stuff, Dave. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it, and we'll see how well we do. Make sure you check out steelcurtainetwork.com. Thanks, Dave, for your time. I appreciate it. Take it easy.
All right, thanks, Jeff.